Who do we have here?
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's IFBB pro bodybuilder Nathan Epler, entrepreneur, former Olympian, coach, and funny guy on camera.
What's your earliest memory related to sports or competition?
So, first of all, thank you guys for all tuning in, and to all the new subscribers and new people that are tuning into the channels and all the social medias. We really appreciate it. I appreciate it. So want to give you guys a little bit more kind of insight on the background of Nathan Epler and the guy that you see. So first, memory of competition. It's hard to remember back exactly to when I kind of first fell in love with, sports and competition and such, but really growing up as a kid, I was very, very active and grew up in a neighborhood with tons of other kids my age. There was probably 15 of us all around the same street, and really just around the course of like 2 blocks, we had probably 15 or 20 of us kids. And I can remember at a very, very early age, basically as soon as my parents would let me be outside and be out on my own, pretty much from an early age, getting together with all the kids in the neighborhood, whether we were playing tag, hide and go seek, or anything like that. I mean, this is the mid to late 90s, early 2000s. So technology was not super prevalent at that point in time, and I wasn't really much of a video gamer myself, so I can definitely remember kind of being active as a kid, wanting to get into skateboarding and biking and those kind of things. My first probably competitive memory would be probably like t-ball or baseball, I would say.
What were you like as a kid? Were you always driven?
So that's a good question. I think, was I always driven? As a kid, I think I always had a drive to do good. And that's one thing. These are kind of a little bit more in-depth questions, so it takes a little bit more thinking, but I really always had a drive and a want to do good and do the right thing. Yeah, so I always wanted to do good, and I think I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing, but I always wanted to impress people. And I think I always had that kind of drive to kind of show people what I was made of. And, so that inner drive really comes from wanting to do good, wanting to really show others my ability and show others that they could believe in me. And I think that's where some of that drive comes from. And wanting to do good, really.
So did your family play a role in pushing you athletically?
So that's what I was gonna say, is I have one fond memory that always kind of sticks out to me from my childhood. And I was probably 8 years old, and yeah, it's probably about 8 years old. All the kids in the neighborhood, they got football helmets and their football pads, and all of them were going to go out for football. I wasn't playing football at the time. I was doing basketball and I was playing baseball, and I was like, well, I want all these football pads. They're all like hitting each other and doing this stuff in the front yard and throwing the ball, and I didn't even know what football was. So I tell my parents I want to do football. So they go out to the sign up, and we get into the Bantam League football, and I get my pads and get the helmet and everything. Well, then a few weeks later comes the first practice. So I go to the first practice, and I'm like, oh, this sucks. Like, it's hot. It's hot out here. We got to drink out of this hose water fountain thing, and we're all hitting each other, and it's like hot, and I'm just like, man. Plus, mind you, like, I already play baseball and stuff, so I wasn't really, and I didn't understand football, so I wasn't feeling it. And so it was probably maybe like the 3rd practice, and I was honestly, I just didn't want to go. And I specifically remember talking to my dad on the phone, actually not on the phone. I remember going inside into the bedroom and going up to my dad, and I was complaining that I didn't want to go and this, that, and the other. And I specifically remember my dad looking at me and not scolding me, but telling me very sternly, "You're not a quitter. And Eplers do not quit. When you start something, you're gonna finish it." So he said, "I don't care if you don't want to do this now, but you signed up for it. You're gonna go through at least the full season, and then you can decide later if you're gonna continue." And I specifically remember that in multiple moments throughout my life, recalling that instance, being in sports later in middle school and high school, specifically wrestling, and having a really hard time with it. I specifically remember that I have that memory that pops back into my head of my dad saying, "Eplers don't quit, and Eplers are not quitters." So they definitely had that impact on me. And then my grandparents and my parents were very supportive of all my sporting endeavors growing up. So that was, again, kind of that want to impress, is like I always had that drive to impress my family and impress my friends and impress my grandparents, want to make people proud. And so that was always a big driver for me. Play a lot of other sports growing up as well. I did soccer for one season when I was a really young kid. And funny story for another time, that's where Lex, my wife, and I actually played on the same soccer team when we were like 6 years old maybe. So we got a picture to prove it. But yeah, I played soccer for 1 year, but then my primary sports growing up were baseball for 9 years. I played basketball for 8 years through my childhood. I played football for 4 years. None of those sports, I didn't do any of those sports going into high school though. When I got into middle school is when I picked up wrestling. So all the other sports were my early childhood, and then middle school on, I picked up wrestling, finished out the other sports through 8th grade, and then really all through high school I only did wrestling. So I was just primarily focused on wrestling, and that's kind of where that led me into the disciplines that kind of helped me in bodybuilding later in life as well.
When did you first realize you were physically gifted?
Really interesting question. So the question is, when did I first realize that I was physically gifted? And I wanted to repeat that because it really was not until probably in college that I really thought I was physically gifted. Now, I don't say that with the interpretation, or I don't say that meaning like I don't think I was good, but from the standpoint of physically gifted, my wrestling career, I lost every big title match I had. Literally my entire career of wrestling. And I was a good wrestler. I went to semi-state my senior year. I was 31-9. I missed the state round by 1 point, 7-8. So I was a very good wrestler. I wrestled year round after I dropped the other sports. I started wrestling year round. I went to Fargo, North Dakota for nationals for wrestling in Greco and freestyle. So I definitely had some good accolades and had great records. I had over 100 career wins in wrestling as well. So, but I never won a title ever in middle school or high school. I was second at county. I was second at mid-state numerous times and second at county numerous times. I was third place at numerous sectionals. I was third place at numerous regionals. Never placed at semi-state because I didn't make it out of semi-state. But yeah, time and time again, even in just close matches, it would seem like I would lose a match in the last minute or 30 seconds, and it would be something with what would seem to be random, but kind of going back to like being driven, I never wanted to quit. My dad said we don't quit, and so I kind of developed what I got on my arm here, which is that underdog mentality. So growing up, I felt like, and I got picked on a lot as well growing up, but I kind of felt like I always had something to prove. I couldn't quite nail it. And I would pour myself into wrestling. I mean, if those of you who are wrestlers out there understand like 2 and 3 hour practices, and especially wrestling year round, that's all I did. And so I constantly felt like I just couldn't quite nail it, and it just wasn't enough. But my dad, that stuck with me of what was told, and my family really drilled that in my head, like, we don't quit. Eplers don't quit. We keep coming back. We keep giving it our all. So it wasn't until I found bodybuilding from wrestling. I was already weight training from the time I was in like 8th grade, 9th grade. I started lifting weights, and I was always lifting for wrestling and to get stronger so that I wouldn't get beat up on the mat. And right after I got out of high school, I wrestled 132 my senior year. So those of you guys that know me now, I'm like 240, 245. So I was very small. All growing up, I was skinnier, and I didn't want to be that anymore, and felt like it was my time to start putting on some weight. And so that's where I really picked up bodybuilding more, and realized like I wanted to put on more muscle. And I had some strength coaches that were really, at the time in high school, pushing me towards fitness and weightlifting, and they could see the passion that I had for it. So it wasn't really until, like I said, probably college, that I started realizing like, man, my physique is really doing some different things and starting to look a different way. And I had people in the gym that would start to tell me, you know, have you ever thought about competing? Like, you got great muscle bellies and this and that and the other. And, you know, at the time I didn't really realize that. But yeah, I mean, being physically gifted, it took me a really long time to really kind of come into that belief system of like, that God has blessed me with something special, and a way that I can help other people as well become something more. So that's where I feel like the physical gifts really started to manifest after college, really. Yeah, so I think, you know, ultimately I'm blessed to be doing what I'm doing, and having a lot of fun with kind of these next steps of my life and career. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing where things go. So, that it?
All good.
All right. See you guys in the next one.